Thanks for tuning in to the Football Talk Squadron. I'm Dutch.
I'm Maul.
And I'm Pops.
Welcome to Week 10 of NFL action. Getting into it right off the get-go. Pops, how you doing?
Man, it was stressful. I saw this video of this guy, his wife or whatever. She videos him every game. You know, he's throwing the jersey around. He says he never wants to be a part of this team, and that was after the onside kick happened, and they tied it back up, and then next thing you know, he's running through the hallways because Loveland got that touchdown, and man, that's pretty much what it was. I told you guys jokingly that I was ready to drive the car into the ditch after being on the road for 2 weeks with the kids, but thankfully they pulled it out, and I'm still here. So,
Pops, you want to do me a favor and talk trash about everyone on my fantasy football team, like right before the games? Because you started throwing out some Loveland hate about how they should have taken Warren and that Loveland hasn't done anything. And then my man turned into like the second coming of Brock Bowers.
About time.
Yeah, he played great. It's honestly the first time this whole year that I can honestly remember Loveland even catching a football. I feel like he's been completely absent, which I think Cole Kmet wasn't playing this week, which
he got hurt.
He got hurt.
Yeah. Helped him shine.
It was one of those things because I'm kind of in the same boat with Adunze. If you follow his dad on anything or just it comes across your feed because you follow enough football, his dad is chirping pretty hard right now because Adunze he's got 59 targets. There was like 37 of them that were actually catchable, and he's caught 31 of them. So he's got 6 drops, and it's just like he's not being included in this offense. And you could say the same thing for the tight ends, Kmet, I think he scored his first touchdown 2 weeks ago, and it's just like, yes, we got the run game going, but the pass game is questionable, especially when Caleb is not making the right decisions pre-snap, and it's one of those things like once it all comes together, watch out. I'm not going to say it's going to be the Detroit level, with Jared Goff, but dude, it is the recipe's there. You just got to turn on the mixer now and put it all together.
In other news, I don't want to steal Maul's thunder. We were on the phone earlier when he had this great line. I'll let you hear it from him. You want to talk about the Cowboys trade that just happened?
So they just traded for a linebacker off the Bengals, and I'm like, leave it to the Cowboys to be like, man, we need some help on defense. Where should we look? I don't know. Let's start with possibly the worst defense known to man.
And why have you not been to a Super Bowl since the 90s? There you go. That's your
listen.
reason.
If there's one good thing that came out of that YouTube TV thing cancellation, it's to save Cowboy fans the heartache of watching them getting busted up by the Cardinals last night. God bless.
Hey, your pick's still alive. Cardinals going to the playoffs. I feel better about mine. Panthers going to the playoffs. We'll get into it here in a minute when we go through the teams. Thursday night, Raiders going to the Broncos. Broncos come away with a win against the Texans. A lot closer. I know the Broncos were the underdog going to the game. I still didn't feel like they should have been. And honestly, they probably lose the game if CJ Stroud doesn't get knocked out with that concussion, because the Texans were really having their way with the Broncos defense, which was surprising. The good thing for them, they're playing the Raiders, who outside of Brock Bowers is, as Maul said, they're just not a great football team. Any chance the Raiders come away with a victory?
I don't think so. I will say they played the Jags pretty well. So, I mean, they're getting better. They're still just an incomplete football team. I will say, dude, I did not realize how good the Texans defense was. Like, I knew they were good, but like, man, they are really good. Like, they are an elite defense. And I think that's what was giving the Broncos fits. The Raiders defense is not that good. And the Broncos have shown against weak defenses, they can really put up some points. So I think that's going to be the difference maker there. You're right. I think if CJ Stroud doesn't go out, the game probably ends opposite. I think the Texans probably pull that one out. The hard part with the Raiders, though, dude, is just like they're just so up and down. Like, I do not disagree with their call to go for it, go for two right there at the end of the game at all. I know some people are probably mad. Raiders fans are like, we should have just played for the dude. You're like 2-5. You're out of it. You got every other team in your division is so much better than you are. Like, why not try to go for that victory? I loved that decision, which every player on the field was probably happy with that decision. And to be honest, the guy was open. If that ball didn't get batted down, that was converting easy. Because that dude, I don't know if it was Jacoby Myers. I think it was in the back. Maybe it was Trey Tucker, wide open. Like, Geno Smith just got the ball batted down, and it was a good defensive play. But outside of that, like, that was the game. It was happening.
Yeah, I like the decision to go for two for a different reason other than just to get you the win. Is when you get the loss, you're already about, like you said, you're not competing for a playoff slot this year. So it's like we're either going to come away with a win or we're going to get a higher draft pick. One of the two is going to happen from this. And I like it. I like doing it that way. Like, this is completely different than end of the season trying to go for a win when it's a difference of like being the number one pick and not having the number one pick. At that point, it's like throw that ball into the third deck of the stands, Gino. I want the number one pick. But in this case, yeah, go for the win. Easy.
The one thing that's alarming for me, I feel like Bo Nix is starting to have a little bit of a sophomore slump. Like, yes, they did just blow out the Cowboys, and that was a great boost of his morale. But, like, you go back, they were losing against the Giants, and the Giants defense let them walk right back into the game. They barely beat the Jets in London, and we see how the Jets experiments working out this season. Like, the Broncos have not had a solid game offensively since playing the Eagles, 4 weeks ago or a month ago. And that's one of the things that's a little bit concerning for me. We've seen, just like you guys were talking about, when the Raiders are able to put those pieces together, when Genty, like against the Bears, ran for 186 yards, I think it was, like when they put those all together with Bowers on that offense, like they could string together games where they just upset people that they have no business upsetting. And I could see that being a possibility if they were playing in Vegas this week, but I still give it to the Broncos just because the Broncos still have a phenomenal defense.
Any arguments that Bowers is the best tight end in the game right now?
No.
I mean, no, like pure talent wise, no, he's the best. I think it gets a little inflated because of like the team he's on and like the pure volume he gets. But yes, like I mean, when he comes back and puts up however many points and yards he did, like it's just clear, like, oh yeah, that's what we were missing. Like, it's like, yeah, no duh, like, yeah, he's top.
It reminds me so much of Georgia. It's just like he was their best player, and it was like, can we just guard this one guy? And it was like week after week after week. It's like everyone knows where the ball's going. Like they're trying to get it to him, and still he's beating guys. Like, it's just, that to me is the sign of like a great player in any position, is when teams know that they're trying to get you the ball and they can't stop you from getting it. That's incredible.
Well, and that's the thing, we talk about these dangerous white men. When Bowers was doubled up, who were they going to next? Ladidi. Like that's the thing that Georgia had going for him. And I think having Bowers back is, I mean, it's a tremendous impact, obviously.
One more thing, late breaking news. I don't know if y'all just saw it. Dutch was talking about it earlier when we were on the phone. Jacoby Myers just got traded.
Ooh,
he's on the Jags. He got traded, I think it said, for a 4th and 6th round pick. So
I like the move for the Jags.
Well, and from like a Raiders standpoint, like now they don't even have their number one receiver now. It's Brock Bowers and only Brock Bowers.
Ugh. Sorry, Raider fans. Sunday, Berlin Falcons going to the Colts. let's just talk about this real quick. You have to be miserable if you're a Falcons fan. A few weeks ago, you beat Buffalo handedly. Like Drake London has close to 200 yards in the first half. Brian Robinson has almost, or Bijan Robinson has almost 200 yards in the first half. You beat Buffalo, and then you go on to lose to the Niners, which I think people were like, I can see that. And then you just get dog walked by the Dolphins. And then you lose last week to an extra point to the Patriots. And you're like, what is this team? Like, dude, I've never seen a team that quite plays to like the level of their opponents, like the Falcons, but it's always just one little notch below that team. I cannot imagine. I know when me and Maul were like talking about being a fan of a team, I would have already just given up on the NFL if I had committed to being a Falcons fan. Like miserable. And they're playing the Colts, so the Colts surprise it. Maul called it. Like, if I know we started off the college episode with him talking about Carson Beck, I should have pulled up the clip of him just being like, look, I feel like Daniel Jones hasn't had a bad game and it's coming. And when it does come, how does that look? And we saw it. It's bad. Like, Colts really inefficient on offense. The Steelers really kept them at bay the entire game. Got up early and often. The good news for the Colts is they got the Falcons in Berlin. Do you think Danny Dimes correct the ways and the Colts go on to be 8-2 after the week?
Yeah, the Falcons defense isn't anywhere near what the Steelers defense was. I don't think they're going to get that much pressure on Daniel Jones. They're going to run the ball a lot better than they do. And I think that's kind of what it was. Like the Steelers were bottling up Jonathan Taylor. That many turnovers is just, it's impossible to overcome. If you look at the box score stat wise, Daniel Jones didn't have a
350.
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't a terrible game stat wise outside the turnovers. So I think that was the exact game that I was talking about and that I was fearful of for Daniel Jones. And I just don't think that happens back to back weeks like that. If there was a time, right? It's like one of those, once you get on that route, it's hard to like, oh, now you're in this slump. You're traveling a long way. It's an international game. Weird things can happen. But I think top to bottom, Colts are just a way better football team.
Next game, Giants-Bears. I sort of put that Bears win into the opposite of last year's loss to Washington. I think that if they had ended up losing that game, the season possibly tanks for the Bears, just because I see it tanking for the Bengals. I still think Joe Flacco and those guys are going to put up great numbers, but that just changes the whole vibe to the season when you win or you lose a game like that. They're going against the Giants, which the Giants are 2-7. I know we've always talked about this, like records are not indicative of a team's success. Like the Giants they're not a 2-7 team. They are, in my opinion, they're sort of like a 500 team that they're a scrappy team. Like you're going to get their best shot each and every week. Do the Bears hold them off this week, Pops?
Personally, I think they do. I think if Scatterboo was still playing, I would be leaning a little bit differently. But in my opinion, I think if Caleb is able to elude, and get away from that defensive line, that's just, it's monstrous. Like they have quite the defensive line. But if Caleb takes care of the ball and the run game's able to at least get something, I think the Bears will be able to get it. And who knows, this might be a game where we get to see Caleb throw 40 times because the run game's just not there, and hopefully it makes a little bit of magic.
Speaking of run game, Kyle Monangai came on. Yeah. Like, I know Swift was hurt, but and you hate to have guys lose their job if from an injury, but man, why would you not keep riding that hot hand? Because there's not a lot of backups that come in the NFL that really take the reins like they did. That's like a second coming of Rico Dowdle, which is like a second coming of Adrian Peterson. So that was, I think, a big difference in that game. Now it helps that it was the Bengals, right? Yeah, exactly. Okay, so that's going to be, I think, a big difference. And you mentioned it, like that Giants front four, front seven is really tough. So I think that's going to be the difference maker in the game.
The Giants' defensive line this is the problem. Pops brought it up early in the Bengals game, is that Caleb has an amazing arm, but yet he will miss some throws that you're like, what are you doing? Like, that dude's wide open. The thing that I worry about for the Bears in this game is that Caleb still has this like overriding tendency to scramble, and it's never like this like great scramble. And against the defensive line of the Giants, I can see him taking some sacks. Like I saw the stat the other day that when a QB takes a sack, it drops to a 7% chance that you get a touchdown on that drive. Like one sack knocks out 93% of your chance to score. For me in this game, that's what it comes down to. Like, can Ben Johnson get the ball out of Caleb Williams' hand quick to eliminate that defensive line? If they can do that, the Bears should have the ability to hold off Jackson Dart and get some points on the board. But if Caleb's back there running, I don't like the opportunities of the Bears in the game if they allow that line to do what I think the chaos they can.
And my last piece of that is, when I watch Caleb do that, he won't take off with it. Like, he just runs around back there and waits for somebody to get open. And I think he's just afraid to get hit. You know, like I think that's kind of what it boils down to. And it's just like, dude, you would have the first down if you would just run the ball instead of standing back there, you know, trying to do the high school thing, you know, just running east and west until you try to find somebody open. And 9 times out of 10, the ball gets dropped, you know, or he throws it out of bounds at the last second as he's about to go out of the sidelines, and he still gets hit. You know, it's just like, dude, like, take the yards that are given. And even, you know, Aikman and some of the other guys who call the game, they're like, your check down was wide open. You know, like, there was your easy 5 yards when the big play wasn't there. Like, and that's the thing with Caleb. He doesn't take as many checkdowns as he needs to, where he could still be in the pocket, but instead he tries to take off, extending the play. And we all know, like, at that point, you know, coverages, it just becomes backyard football. It's like, who can get to a spot and catch the ball before the defender gets there? Like, that's pretty much what it all boils down to after the route's busted. And I just don't think that type of play, it's going to get him hurt. Like, I think, or not hurt, it's going to get him in trouble. And that's where his maturity and progression has to grow the most, in my opinion.
I will say he's probably the closest to Mahomes, Caleb is, in terms of being like sneaky fast when he runs. Like, yeah. I would never say Mahomes is fast, but every time he takes off, you're like, faster than I thought. Caleb's
run away from guys. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, he's not going to wow you like, you know, Kyler or somebody, but when he takes off, he made a great play on the final drive, picked up a first down. And it's like, hey, like, I agree with you. Like,
but if you go back to that play, he still stuttered. It's like, the yards are there. Like, take the freaking yards. And he's still stuttering, trying to make the big play. And then he takes off. And it's just like, just run, Caleb.
And that was when Pops almost took the car into the ravine. Bills going to the Dolphins. The Dolphins traded Phillips, their defensive end, to the Eagles. They're already talking about shipping Minkah Fitzpatrick. They've put out feelers to see what they can get for him after they traded him away at the beginning of the season to the Steelers for Ramsey. I feel like the Dolphins, especially, you just watch them. Let's be honest. This should be Tua's last year. Oh, it's McDaniels is gone. But I love Tua. Like, he beat Georgia in the national championship game. It was great. But this is a guy that I've never seen him win a big game. Like, have you seen? I'm honestly asking. Like, I can't go back to a game in my mind that I'm like, oh man, Tua came out and balled out against a good team and won them that game.
I think there was the early 2-3 seasons ago where they had the shootout with the Ravens at Hard Rock, but I think that was about it. Where, like, the game ended up in like a 42-45 score. But I think that's about it from my recollection.
Memory's better. I just have a hard time with Tua. Like, I look at this game, I get it's in Miami, but based upon how the Bills have played, Bills came off a huge win. I did not think that they were going to win that game at all against Kansas City, and somehow they showed up. Defense looked. Boza showed signs of his rookie year with how well he played.
If I'm Mike McDaniels, I'm poking Tua in the eye before every game from here on out, because apparently he's better with one eye than he is with two. That being said, the only thing that gives me just a little pause is what you just mentioned, Dutch, is that the Bills are coming off this big victory at home against the Chiefs. And it's like that hangover of like, whew, now you got to travel down to Miami. We always know that Miami's better at home than they are away. And maybe the Bills have a little bit of a hangover game that just doesn't, the Dolphins have shown if you give them a little bit of shot, like a little bit of space, like they can put up points on you. I mean, like ask the Falcons, like they can do it. They haven't proven that they can do it consistently, but I mean, again, if the Bills just come out a little slow thinking like, whew, we just beat the Chiefs, we should handle the Dolphins, and the Dolphins have a good game, like it could be a little bit of a trap game. That's all I'm saying.
Just to give just to give you that little bit, it was 42-38, and Tua had 469 yards and 6 touchdowns.
That'll do it.
I think that's the best game ever.
Oh, that's for sure.
Didn't the Dolphins hang like 70 on the Broncos? Was that with Tua?
That was the Broncos.
That was Russ's first year.
Was that Tua? Because that's
Yes.
the game that sticks out in my mind. I can't necessarily say that was like a big game, or like a super important one. But
I said a good team, not Russell Wilson.
Yeah. I'm just saying. I remembered that game. They put up 70 on them.
The best part about Russell Wilson now is every time they pan to him on the sideline, he's like that older child that got in trouble because the younger kids gotten straight A's his whole life. Like he's just that superstar. And this older one is just being punished because he ain't as good as the younger one. And it's well deserved. And I love Russ has sucked since he left Seattle. And we keep thinking like we're gonna see this different Russ. Like I'm glad for Jackson Dart.
Yeah. I can't help y'all know that meme, the Office meme where like Dwight turns around and that girl's like standing right there and he's just like, geez. That's what anytime like a backup, they like the quarterback goes down, you gotta like find the backup, like, hey, you're in, call him. But it's like Russ is standing right next to coach with his like helmet on. He's probably turning around like, like, where's Russ? And he turns like, oh geez. Like that's what I keep saying. That's all I can think of.
Next game. Ravens, Vikings. Ravens come off good win on Thursday against the Dolphins. Vikings come off an even better win, which Vikings were a 9-point underdog to the Lions. And let's be honest, dude, the Vikings controlled that game throughout. Like, Maul said it best on the phone. So Carson Wentz just sucks, right? Like, is that
Carson Wentz is that bad?
That's what the conclusion that we're drawing from the Vikings, that somehow he was just that bad. The Vikings looked like they were not even going to be competitive for the rest of the season. And then they come out and hand the Lions a pretty good smack. Baltimore's only 4.5-point favorites in the game, which honestly, I'm sort of like, I don't know how the Vikings aren't favored after that last performance. Ravens have struggled on defense. Do y'all like the Vikings or the Ravens in the game?
Man, this is a toss-up. I want to go with the Ravens. Like until I see consistency out of JJ, like this was first game back. Like until I see that consistency continue, because like after all, this is his first season starting in the NFL. He's only played 2 games. So for me, Lamar's back. He got his rhythm back last week against the Dolphins. He'll be moving into this week. I'll take the Ravens for that one.
Yeah, I'm just dumbfounded with this Vikings team because I was making the joke about Carson Wentz being that bad, but I mean, he was under pressure like 100% of his dropbacks. And JJ goes back there against a really good Lions defensive line, And I can't say that he wasn't under pressure like at all, but he was like comfortable back there for a lot of the game. And then the defensive side of the ball, they were stopping the run, which again, the Vikings D hadn't done anything up until this point. So I was making the joke about Wentz, but like, where did the line come from on both sides of the ball? That's really what it comes down to me. Like, if the line plays like they played against the Lions, they'll struggle on defense just because Lamar is back and he is kind of getting into that rhythm. But I mean, the Ravens defense is nothing to be afraid of. And if the offensive line can control that ball, they're going to score points on the Ravens. And, you know, the Ravens, even though they beat Miami, like, they didn't look super great doing it just because they, you know, they're dealing with their own things. So this one's a toss up for me. Obviously, I got the Ravens winning the Super Bowl, so give me the Ravens in the game. But like, it can easily, I will not be surprised if the Vikings come out and win this game.
100%. Next game up, Browns going to the Jets. Shocker here. Jets are somehow favored of the game -2.5. I'm going to put that all on Dylan Gabriel's shoulders as why they're not favored. I just want to throw this out because we talked about it last year when Myles Garrett was like, I want to go to a winner. And then it was like, nah, money's more important. And then he's like mad throwing his helmet during the game when they're not winning. And I was glad to at least see a few other people like chime in and be like, well, you took the money. Like, you knew what you were getting into in Cleveland. Like, you knew it. Like, this is exactly what you signed up for. Sorry. Like, you chose the money. You could have went and played for other teams who wouldn't have been able to pay you as much, but you would have at least been competitive in games. And yet again, like, here we are, the Browns are underdogs to the Jets. Like, who's going to bet on the Jets? It's like that meme. Like, you don't ever bet on the Jets. I don't like the Jets in the game just because at no point this season have the Jets shown me any type of consistency that I've inspired that they're going to be able to beat Cleveland's defense. That's the bigger test in this whole game to me. Is not Gabriel, but it's more the Jets being able to muster an offense against Myles Garrett. I like the Browns in the game. What about you guys?
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. But again, like, I think the funniest thing that I've seen, and I mean, it's obviously a bunch of shade towards Dylan Gabriel, but like, somebody posted a video, is like, tell me what's wrong here. They walked into the pro shop, not a single Dylan Gabriel jersey hanging up. But you know who was? That number 12, baby. You know, and it's just one of those things. It's like, man, there's so much dysfunction with that organization. And then you're like, let's look at the other sidelines. Oh, it's the Jets. You know, they've had dysfunction for the last 15 years, you know, since Rex Ryan was their coach, you know, and it's just, man, it's the best of the worst, you know, like, I feel like that's who's playing this weekend. And I will take Myles Garrett time and time again. I'll give it to the Browns as well.
I don't know who's playing quarterback for the Jets. Like, last week, or I guess the week prior, was hilarious. Well, yeah. They benched Fields because they're like, sorry, we're going with Tyrod Taylor. And then Tyrod Taylor got hurt, and they were like, hey, awkward. You're our guy still. So, but he's done fine. I mean, like, Justin Fields has not played super, super terrible. He's played better than Dylan Gabriel has. I'll say that. Garrett Wilson's coming back, so that's going to help. I also don't know about Judkins. If Judkins isn't running the ball for the Browns, that might be a problem as well. So
Sampson's not bad.
Well, yeah, but it's not Judkins. You know what I mean?
I get it.
It's because if you know, like, hey, Dylan Gabriel's not going to throw the ball, and they've got a backup running back, like, that's a tough ask. I know Myles Garrett is good, and that Browns defense is pretty solid, but like, the Jets have had some okay football games. Like, their record, don't get me wrong, this is one of those, like, they are just as bad as their record shows, but like, that doesn't mean that they're week in, week out playing bad football. Like, remember week 1, they took the Steelers all the way to the end, and the Steelers have shown that they're a decent football team this year. So like, this is one of those, like, it's still a professional football team on the other side of that you know, ball. So you guys both got the Browns. I'm going to take the Jets in this one.
Next game, Patriots going down to face Baker and the Bucks. Probably one of the best clips I saw out of Monday night from that awful game. Well, it was a great game because the Cowboys lost, but it was just wasn't a great football game. Was when they asked Baker, does he practice scrambling? And he's like, well, I practiced it once in Fayetteville once, but it got me arrested when he, which was how can you not root for Baker Mayfield? Patriots, Drake May came away with a win against the Falcons. They were really winning, and then they let the Falcons back in the game there late. I just sort of sit back and I go, if you do that with Baker, Baker's going to make you pay. I like the Bucks in the game. Bucks right now, 2.5-point favorite.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing about that. Like, the ability that Baker have shown this year amidst the injuries, especially at wide receiver, and even with Bucky Irvin, like they've had White been able to step up in the backfield, Egbuka, and some of the other guys, Tez Johnson,
Tez.
Just those guys being able to step up as well. He's still got K-Dot, and the pieces are there for the Buccaneers. And it's just now a matter of getting them to the playoffs without too many games that they shouldn't have dropped. Like you think the Saints and the Falcons, the games that they have no business losing. Now it's just a matter of they're going to make these statement games at home. And I think this weekend's just one of those. I think this could be a game of the week, being at 12 o'clock. This would be the 12 o'clock game to watch just purely based on how both teams are playing right now. And it'll be cool to see what Vrabel's able to do on the other side as well. Because he's making quite the statement. I truly did not see them being a 7-2 team right now in his first year, and dude, he's doing it. And it's just making Tennessee look that much more stupid.
Yeah, I don't have much else to add on. I like Pop said, I think it's be a great game on both sides of the ball from both teams. I think Baker's the difference maker for me, even though Drake May is playing out of his mind. It's so hard to not root for Baker. I'll give the edge to the Bucks there at the end.
Next game, New Orleans versus the Panthers. Panthers coming off the tale of two almost 14-point underdogs. Panthers were 13-point underdogs, but won in Green Bay. Saints were 14-point underdogs to the Rams and lost by even more. The Panthers were my sneaky playoff pick. Bryce Young, last 4 games that he started, it's 4-0. I like him against the Saints. Like the Rams, yes, the Saints scored, but you could sort of tell the Rams, as much as it's another professional football team lining against you, the Rams knew they had the game. Like it was almost like a cat playing with the mouse and not just straight killing it right away. The Panthers should easily win this game. Like Rico Dowell should easily go for over 100 in the game, and they should probably have about 3 or 4 sacks on shout. That's the only reason the Saints, in my opinion, can win this game is Taysom Hill just has a career day. That's it.
Yeah, the Saints have just been bad all season. Spencer Rattler really it's hard. It's sad that they benched him because he hasn't played, I would say, worse than expectations. Not that he had super high expectations to going in, but he hasn't played terribly. He's not the reason they're losing football games. So going with Shuck, I think more of just a theatrical move from the Saints there. He's a downgrade for sure in quarterback, and they cannot run the ball. Kamara has been non-existent pretty much for the season. And their defense is nothing super special either. So yes, I'm with you. I think the Panthers sneaky survivor pick from if you know what I mean? If you needed to use somebody, this might be a little early if you're making those kinds of risks, but they're on a roll. They've got a good thing going for the Panthers, and again, if there's a time to use them, here it is. So.
Anything to add, Pops?
No, spot on. Saints have fully come to be in the ain'ts.
Next game, tale of 2 really good defenses. You got the Jags going against the Texans. Maul broke the news that Jacoby Myers is going to be traded to the Jags. So Jags get a new weapon to pair against a struggling Brian Thomas Jr. in all reality. Texans, I really think it's going to come down to whether or not CJ Stroud starts or not. If he doesn't start, I'd give the game to the Jags. If he does start, I like the Texans defense against Trevor Lawrence. As much as Maul brought it up with the Raiders game. Like, the Raiders had a chance to beat the Jags. The Raiders are not the best football team. The reason that teams stay in the game against the Jags is, we still have to talk about it. Trevor Lawrence still isn't like performing great. He just hasn't like cost them games with picks and like really poor play, but at no point has he played to the level that you're like, oh, Trevor Lawrence is out there winning them games. It's that their defense has just kept them in every game that they've been in so far this year. Who y'all got in the game?
It's CJ Stroud. Like, if CJ Stroud plays easily, it's the Texans. If CJ Stroud doesn't play, it's that 1.5 point line, I think is fair, because even without CJ Stroud, that defense is going to shut down the Jags. Like, it's tough. That's really what it comes down to me. So I don't know who wins if CJ Stroud is out. It's a coin flip in my opinion, but it'll probably be a low scoring game.
Well, if the Jags can just get the ball to where it's at least a 70-yard field goal, then the Jags have an ability to at least get points on the board after record-breaking 68-yard field goal.
Yeah, no kidding. That dude's a weapon.
And they're playing in a dome, so it just helps them even more.
I did get a little joy out of the Monday night game, that when they lined up Aubrey to tie the record, that he missed it. And I was like, good. The Cowboys got no reason to celebrate tonight. Always hate my heart for the Cowboys.
And like, how much does that, like, I don't know the word for it, like, water down the record when it's like, man, this dude just broke the record, and then it like gets broken the next day. You're like, that kind of sucks. Like, was it really that good of a record? And you're like, yes, it is a good record. So I'm with you. On top of the Cowboys hate, I'm glad that the record gets to stand more than one day.
Yeah. Next game up, Cardinals Seahawks. They've already said that Jacoby Brissett is still the backup, even though he came out and beat Dallas. And honestly, he's looked better than Kyler Murray has this year. But they're going against Seattle, who right now, I think I've seen this thrown around. Like, is there a stronger MVP candidate right now than Sam Darnold?
Do they make the vote before or after the playoffs?
Ain't that a fact? He's playing lights out.
Dude, the whole team is playing lights out. Like, we keep talking about, like, you know, who's going to challenge the Eagles and all that. But, like, man, and you brought it up at the beginning of the episode, Dutch, with your Panthers pick and my Cardinals pick. Don't get me wrong. The Cardinals pick looks bad now. They have their record. They should have way more wins than they do. But even if the Cardinals come on, they're not going to the playoffs because of that division they're in. The other 3 teams in that division all have 6 or more wins. Like, that is a tough division. And the Seahawks are looking like an absolute bona fide NFC contender right now.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the Cardinals are going to be able to win this game. I think the bigger question too is just the turmoil that's going on with the Cardinals, because I mean, even Marvin Harrison Sr. came out and talked about how, you know, MHJ hasn't been getting involved, and there's a lot of discord going on there. But again, the Cardinals have been able to, Jacoby Brissett these last couple of weeks, like, the man just earned himself another backup contract, is how that I've been looking at it, you know, with the way that he's been playing. It's like, this dude's been everywhere. He's been in the league forever, you know, and it's just, it's great to see. But also going against the Seahawks right now, like, Mike McDaniel, I think he put out, or McDonald, excuse me, he put out the halftime interview last week. Somebody on defense got hurt. He told the game plan. He's like, this is exactly what I'm going to do, and this is how we're going to do it to remedy the situation, and we'll be all right. It's just like, the guy has so much confidence. He's got the team rolling. And honestly, like, I texted you guys, I think I put the Seahawks on top of the NFC West, like, and I see it coming true, you know, or maybe I said on the podcast early on in the season, but they're playing as a team that, you know, if they play the Rams again, I don't know who's going to win that game.
The Seahawks, I'll go ahead and tell you.
Yeah.
Speaking of the Rams Niners playing as well. Last time the Rams played the Niners, Mac Jones came away with a win. Kylan Williams fumbles on the 1-yard line as he's going in to score. It was like the Rams did everything they could to give the game to the Niners and ended up giving it to him on a Thursday night. This time the Rams are going to San Francisco to play the Niners. Mac Jones keeps winning. That's the big. It really makes you sort of question, not from a standpoint of do I think it would happen, but it's one of those questions of like, why not trade Purdy? Like, you're getting the same result out of Mac Jones, but for a lot cheaper. Like, I don't know how they're going to remedy that at the end of the season, especially if Purdy struggles. That now you have this huge roster cap hit with Purdy, and you're still getting like you're 6-3. Like, if you beat the Rams again, it's really between the Niners and the Seahawks for the division. It's hard to like combat this business aspect of it, of money. Do the Niners make it even a harder decision and Mac Jones goes 2-0 against the Rams? What do you guys think?
It's possible if Nakua can't play a full game. Puka is, an unstoppable machine when he's out there. And Stafford knows it, and he's having a career year because he's feeding Puka the ball. I think they said he's optimistic. They're optimistic. He's going through some scans or something on his ribs to see if he's going to play. And he's a pretty tough dude, so I imagine if there's any possibility of him playing, he'll play. I do think the Rams are a better football team. If Nakua is not out there, though, it is going to make it tougher for them to get that victory. They're going to have to really game plan on that defensive side of the ball to stop McCaffrey. Because let's be honest, like it's not a bad strategy, but like that's what the Niners are doing. Like, give it to the best athlete on the field 100 times a game because he's going to help us win.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say is like just purely based on, hadn't been brought up just yet until you started to go there, Maul, but you got Verse and Fisk on that D line. Like I'm going purely Rams in this game. They've been steamrolling lately. Like, they put up 34. Yes, it was the Saints, but they put 35 up on the Jaguars, beat the Ravens before that since the last time that they played. And honestly, going back to that Rams game when they lost in overtime to the 49ers, like it was just a sloppy game. I think Matthew Stafford's playing really good football right now. He leads the league in passing touchdowns, I believe. I don't think it's going to be an issue for the Rams to walk away with the win. Because we have yet to see Mac Jones be Mac Jones.
He's playing the system that Kyle Shanahan's designed, which it as Maul said, it's just get the ball to McCaffrey. Like it's get the ball to your best player. It's what he did when he had Debo. It was like that's the reason Debo was running the football, catching, doing all these different things. It was like, I'm going to design a system that alleviates the quarterback having to be the focal point. It's really just dispersing it to the weapons that I have on the outside. It helps that they have Kittle back, but I'm with you. It's just the Rams defense has been great. If Puka plays, fantastic, because he really opens up Devontae Adams. Devontae is not the same guy that he was, but one-on-one, Devontae's still him. Like, he's going to make a corner, their number 2 corner pay, because Stafford can throw the football really well, especially down in the red zone. Like, he just puts back shoulder in the corner to Devontae, and more times than not, Devontae's coming down with the football. It helps the Rams. Then the Lions coming off a bad win to the Vikings, going against Commanders, who not only got scorched by Seattle, but then most likely lost Jaden Daniels for the season. FedEx Field curse. That's the exact same spot on the field that RJ3, pretty much his career ended with the Redskins. Detroit's minus 8.5. I think Detroit is absolutely going to lay the wood on the Commanders after last year's NFC Championship game, or last year's prelude to the NFC Championship game. I like the Lions to just absolutely murder the Commanders in this game. Thoughts?
I think they're going to be I don't even know who the backup is behind Mariota, but I think Aiden Hudson's going to have about 2.5 sacks this game. Like, it's going to be ugly for the Commanders, in my opinion. Looking back last week, the Lions weren't able to get fully into a rhythm like you guys were talking about. The Vikings defense was coming around, and the Commanders defense has been non-existent this year. Everybody's old. The age, they went all in last year thinking that maybe this year they'd be able to do the same. And obviously, with Jaden Daniels being hurt is 100% of their problem, and Mariota had played decent earlier in the season, but again, he's just Marcus Mariota. Like, he's never lived up to that Heisman winning hype that he had coming out of Oregon, and it's going to show again. I mean, if you want to know what kind of guy Mariota is, great guy, seems like a really nice dude, but his mind's not in football. Just go watch the quarterback documentary on Netflix.
You ain't wrong on that.
Yeah, big bounce back win for the Lions here. They're gonna come out heated and ready to make a statement for what the Vikings just did to them. So it's gonna get out of hand quickly.
Sunday night game, Steelers go to the Chargers. Chargers just lost Joe Alt for most likely the season, and they're starting tackle. Chargers are 3.5-point favorites, even though the Steelers came off the huge win against the Colts. Both of these next two games, I'm not a fan of the line. I like the Steelers in the game. The Chargers have just, I want to say it's like sloppy play every single week. Like, they just, outside of that first week against Kansas City, like, I just don't know what it is about the Chargers, but like every single week, I'm just like, I don't know who this team is. Like, I can't trust them. Maul got fortunate last week. He picked him in the survivor pool, but let me tell you, Maul was also blowing up my phone in the first half, being like, they're letting the Titans stay in this game. What is happening? And the Titans, like, I didn't even know. I was talking with him on the phone. He's like, do you know that, like, the Titans have 17 points. They have not scored an offensive touchdown. Like, I literally was like, what do you mean they haven't scored an offensive touchdown? Like, they took a punt back and a pick six. That's how they have 17 points. And they let them hang around in the game until the second half, and they were able to put them away. I don't see them being able to let the Steelers hang around like that and not cost themselves a victory. What are y'all's thoughts of why the Chargers seem to be inconsistent at best?
He's had a lot of injuries, which it's kind of like, I think explains like the sloppiness of, like, they're just trying to put a lot of different people in places and kind of piecemeal some of these teams together. They're very talented. Like, Herbert is kind of giving me like Baker vibes right now, where it's just like, it's hard to bet against him just because of how well he's playing. But you're right. Like, if the Steelers is not a team that you can really fall behind to, or like let hang around without getting punished for it. So I think the Chargers should win, but I would also not be surprised, if again they just kind of had a sloppy game and the Steelers were able to pull one out.
Yeah, and I mean, with Slater going out early this season, now Joe Alt's out, they've had issues with the running backs. Like, there's too much inconsistency plagued by the injuries, but also we saw this last year, when Harbaugh came in. Like, yes, he ended up being 11-5, but it was like there was nothing exciting about it because, again, just like you guys said, every week you're just like, what Chargers team are we going to see? And maybe that's Harbaugh's whole strategy. It might be. He's a genius. But again, like, when you think about Herbert, you're thinking a guy that's putting up 300 yards a game, and he just doesn't do that. Like, yes, they still find ways to win. He still, I think last week he had 3 touchdowns, 2 passing and a rush. But it's just like, I don't know what we're going to get out of the Chargers team. And honestly, dude, the Steelers are playing really good football. Like, outside of that, Packers game 2 weeks ago, and Aaron Rodgers didn't give any love to Jordan. No pun intended. Like, Aaron still has it, and I would not be surprised to see him in a primetime game, being able to take one home on Sunday Night Football. Give me the Steelers.
Then the other game with the line, I have a lot of questions. Eagles, Packers.
Yeah,
Packers
dude,
are the favorites in the game.
Gosh, they
Dude.
look terrible.
Which,
Awful.
What's crazy is what you just said is, like, the Packers came out and really controlled this game against the Steelers. Like, looked really good. And then the very next week against the Panthers, you're just like, dude, I mean, Jordan Love threw a football that the only dude, literally the camera like left him, went to the corner where he threw it, and it was like a Panthers dude that was like, are you really throwing it to me? Okay, I guess I'll catch it. Like, yeah, Maul said it before I could. Go for it.
the Packers' 2 losses are to the Browns and the Panthers, and you're just like, dude, what?
And the ties to the Cowboys.
Yeah, like how are y'all 5-2-1? Like they're not playing good football. Like across the board, not playing good football. They have the ability. We've seen them come out and be like, oh my gosh, this team is good, but they're another team where it's like record. Normally we talk about like bad teams or like records don't indicate like the good quality of football, but like this is the opposite of like the Packers record. They're pretenders in my opinion for sure. They might make the playoffs just kind of by getting a few wins here and there, but like when it's going to come down to it in a crucial moment in the playoffs, they're going to fold. And I'm taking the Eagles. I say upset. I can't believe that the Eagles are not the favorite in this game.
It's funny because we circled this game like a few weeks ago. Like after like week 2 of the season, we were like, dude, when do the Packers play the Eagles? And now you're sitting back and you're just like, I will say Micah Parsons just seems to have faded right back into what he was really doing with Dallas. Like, don't get me wrong, he's not a liability at any point. But on the opposite end, he's also not the guy that's like, man, this dude is making plays. Like his name more times than not is just not being mentioned outside of them talking about how he hasn't had a sack during the game, because he had like 15 rushes against Carolina and had 0 sacks. Like you just sort of sit back and you go, at some point, the dude that we gave up this first round pick for has got to come home. Like you have to be able to make the play on the drive that you need to. I know it delights Pop's heart to see the Packers struggle. So my question for you, Pops, is you guys see it Monday night?
Yeah, and I mean, being at Lambeau obviously is going to be a help, but going up against a defense like the Eagles, like I'm going to say that the Eagles win the game. Like the only way is that the Eagles are doing Eagles things and just don't hand the ball off to Saquon. Like that to me is about the only way. That the Eagles don't.
Jalen Carter spits on some dude.
Yeah, Jalen Carter. Straight out the gate spits on somebody again. Doesn't learn his lesson. But yeah, man, like again, it's the inconsistency. Like they have a winning record, like, and that's the thing that we're talking about. But it's like when you look at the losses, they're bad losses, and you're just like, what is causing this to happen? Like, are they the team that takes the week off because hey, we're playing the Browns, hey, we're playing the Panthers, or hey, we're playing the Cowboys and we end up in a tie? Like, it's just this thing is like, all right, you've got some good wins, but when are we going to string this together, stop playing around, and end up in the playoffs, being 14-2-1? It's like, I just don't see that happening to this Packers team. Now, yes, I'll be honest, they're probably going to beat the Bears twice because, they own the Bears until history proves otherwise. But, they still got to play the Lions again and the Vikings again. Like, the Packers are in serious trouble, in my opinion. And I don't know if it's LaFleur, if it's his calling, because he's supposed to be the guru, learned under Shanahan, and all this other kind of stuff. But there's something that's not clicking with them.
Maul?
Yeah, I mean, that's what he said. I said my piece. Give me the Eagles.
Well, that wraps up Week 11 teams. I'm going to throw it back. We talked about the teams on the bye outside of the Titans, talked about the Cowboys and the Bengals just through the losses. But there's one other team I did want to ask about. So going into the week, probably one of the hottest teams in the Chiefs, who ended up losing to the Bills. I'm going to just throw this out there. If the Chiefs don't trade for a running back, do they even get to the Super Bowl?
Super Bowl, no. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. They're not getting to the Super Bowl. They're going to make the playoffs, but they're not getting to the Super Bowl unless they can figure out a run game.
Do you attribute that to be the reasons behind the struggles?
No, I mean we've talked about it kind of all year of just like them getting old. They've lost the Raz, if you will, of like, they're this unstoppable team. Like they've been beaten and they don't strike fear into people's hearts anymore. But like we've seen this decline kind of coming. We've been talking about it for the last year and a half. They're still a good football team. The reason they're just slightly behind in games or not winning games outright is because of the running game.
This is a trade I think they should make. It makes like it's almost like a fantasy trade. Like it makes sense from the standpoint of a name, but I think it's also a huge reason that they haven't been winning. If I'm them, I get rid of Chris Jones.
Yeah.
Like I think he's a great name that for someone out there, they're like, look, we need help on the defensive line. He would at least make it to where we have some help. I think that teams love biting off on like the name and bringing in a guy who honestly this whole year really hasn't done anything like he has in years past. They have to go find some talent elsewhere because on the defense, like they could not stop the run. I mean, James Cook was tearing them up the middle, and that's where Chris Jones lives. Like that dude, ever since he's gotten paid after that first year, has really sort of been a no-show, and that's hurt them defensively. Like, don't get me wrong, guys like Laurinaitis and Bolden and those, like they still make plays in spite of Chris Jones, but they're not as dominant with Spag on this defense because Chris Jones is just like a no-show for half the games.
And that was going to be my piece, was like outside the run game, to me, I don't feel like their defense has been as dominant this year. You know, that was what won them the Super Bowl 2 seasons ago, was that defense, you know, like because the offense wasn't clicking. I will say going back this year, now they got Rashee Rice back. Like Travis Kelce's not getting a lot of looks, but like in my opinion, he's running faster this season than he was last season. You know, and like actually being able, he's more mobile. You know, the wear and tear, or the glim and glamour of being with Taylor's finally wore off, and he got back to focusing on football. You know, because he's looking pretty good this year, and they just haven't been able to use him as much. So if they,
which is sort of a good thing for them.
True, correct.
Because being able to get like the ball, like Thornton still, I think that Thornton is almost a
That's
better
fast.
deep threat than Worthy.
Yeah.
Just because the height, but like Worthy's great on this like jet sweep. Like he just gets the edge super quick, and he's good for like 8 yards. But like outside of the occasional deep ball, you really don't see him. Rashee's the key to the offense. Like as long as he's healthy, he really opens up the pass and gets Kelce more open. Just on these like random that scramble play that it was just like Mahomes, somehow Kelce finds him 20 yards downfield, and like the amount of times that Kelce, he throws the ball to him and there's not a defender within 10 yards, I'm just like, what are you guys doing? And it's like he's always done that with Mahomes. His whole career finds the opening, but the running game, like, because Pacheco's not the answer. Like, I know he's hurt right now, but even when he wasn't hurt, like, it's almost like, who's the guy that stabbed that old dude? Mark Sanchez. He's just running into people's butts, like in the line. Like he just head down, let's just run as fast. He doesn't let the play develop, and it ends up poorly for the Chiefs. And Kareem's a good running back, but he's sort of like,
old.
Old. Like he's a big dude. He's going to get you a yard or two every carry, but if he gets past the second wave, he's definitely getting tackled before he gets to third because he doesn't have that speed anymore. Like they need somebody. I know that Breece Hall's been thrown out as a name out there, and the Jets could use some help. That's where I see a team like the Jets willing to take Chris Jones to get Breece Hall just because it's like, hey, we'll use another defensive lineman to help us up here. That's what I see. It's just a matter of who's willing to trade with the Chiefs, but the Chiefs need help.
Yeah, a couple names I've thrown out there. Breece Hall would be great because he's a bigger name. That from a Chiefs standpoint, though, you kind of go, how much are they willing to give up? And they might have to give up a little bit to get someone like Breece Hall. But I think there's plenty of guys out there. Like Brian Robinson, in my opinion, is like a perfect fit. He's a backup, kind of like forgotten, but dude, he is still young enough. He's a great running back. They probably wouldn't have to go give a lot up to get him. Or, someone even like DeAndre Swift, you know what I mean? Like they could get somebody's backup or somebody who's not going to cost them a ton that can do better than what they currently have.
The scariest name to me for the Chiefs is Alvin Kamara. I know he's not the same Alvin Kamara, but I think that he's an upgrade over Pacheco.
See, to me, that's basically Kareem Hunt at this point. Like, I don't see a huge upside there from that standpoint. Yes, a few years ago, 100%, but like, I have, because even Kamara on the Saints have been bad for a long time. Like, he was always still really dangerous. Yeah, and like he's not at all this, and I think it's just an age thing. Like, it's tough. I think there's guys out there that they could get and that wouldn't cost them a lot. Brian Robinson is the best name in my opinion that I can or like David Montgomery. I don't think that the Lions would be willing to break that up, but somebody like that, it would be just dangerous.
That would be of all the fourth down calls that Dan Campbell's made, if he trades David Montgomery to the Chiefs, that will be the dumbest decision he's ever made. It's like the Bills. Like, the two times they've traded with the Chiefs, once they got Patrick Mahomes for, the other they got Xavier Worthy. It's like, what did we learn? Let's not trade anymore with the Chiefs. That's like,
stop giving them weapons.
Yeah. It's like whoever ends up trading with the Chiefs, if they do make a trade, the only thing I hope is that they get far more in return than what they gave up. Like, don't make it easy on the Chiefs to fix their problems. Like, they're a good team. Don't help them out. Like, make it more difficult, which I was also glad in that game, finally, to see Mahomes take a shot after running towards the sideline and throwing. Like, after watching the replay, I am
that
shocked
didn't get called.
Flag.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's the thing that didn't get called. He's taken plenty of shots, but like, they've been perfectly legal in the middle of the field and they still call a penalty. So yeah, I'm glad that they didn't call that one either.
But that wraps up going into week 10 of the NFL. Any final thoughts before we rejoin next week for week 11?
That's it.
All right, time to pull chalks. We'll see you guys next week.